In this video, I am going to be demonstrating how to install the current version of my Jupyter Notebook server on a Ubuntu server. I'm going to be speeding up this video for all the waiting time that is going to be happening in between. I'm going to be pulling up a VM that I'm running on my local machine. So here, this is a base Ubuntu 2004 LTS server installation. There is no GUI in there. There is no major modification done to this machine at all. I have enabled SSH during the installation, but even the IP address, so the network configuration, is still just going via DHCP. So during this video I'm going to be demonstrating and using actually this repo to also configure a static IP address. So using the cd tilde to actually go to the home directory or make sure that we are in the home directory. Then we are going to be cloning this repo down. Now, in order to configure the static IP address, we need to find the name of the network adapter. So with the command IP addr for address, we actually can find in this line as the last word or the last sequence of letters and numbers ENP0S3, which is my network adapter for this VM. So now I need this information to adjust my file that I'm using. So the file that is in the repo is actually the correct one that I'm actually using for this server. So for your server, you will need to change your adapter address here in line 3, as well as the IP address that you want to use. So I'm using 18. You need to configure your gateway name server addresses here as well. Then you go out with you have to write it out, so Control-O to write out the file, and I only need to go with Control-X go out because I actually haven't changed anything in this file. Now, in order to actually activate the static IP configuration, you're doing a source, the notebook server, and then stat network.sh, and this will reboot your server. So it's actually setting the static network configuration because it's a sudo command in there. I have to enter the password, and then it is doing a restart. We have to log back in. Let me clear this away that we have a clean picture. And now we are starting with the actual setup script. So in case you don't need to configure your static IP address or static network address, or you don't want to configure it, you can skip right to this point. After cloning the repo, we are going to be calling the setup.sh script. And first step, what it is doing, it's actually downloading Anaconda. After the download is completed, we are asked to, or we're going directly into the Anaconda installation process. We need to review the license agreement, going in there with enter, and keep on enter until we are at the bottom. Entering yes to accept the license agreement. Then we are being asked for the installation location. By confirming with enter, we are keeping the suggested location. So the next step is asking if you want to run Anaconda in it. The default is no. Here we are actually overriding the default and we are running the Anaconda in it. At this step, we are going to be configuring the password that we are going to be using to secure the Jupyter Notebook server against inappropriate access. So this is the password that you will need to enter when accessing your Jupyter Notebook server via a web browser. Next step is to generate a self-signed certificate so that we actually can have a HTTPS connection. The port is the port that the Jupyter Notebook server is going to be using. I always set mine to 8892, but basically you can select whatever you like. Next, we are asked if we want to install the R kernel. Jupyter Notebook also can offer R kernel. I'm not installing it this time. And the last step is to actually install the zip utility. So to actually allow to zip complete folders or larger files or larger data sets on the server directly prior to transferring it over the network. And with this, the installation is complete. So to actually verify that it is working correctly, I am calling Jupyter Notebook, and as you can see, it is firing up a server. For my actual machine, so that is the same machine on which the VM is running, as you can see, I'm getting an answer from the server. It is warning me appropriately that it's a potential security risk because it's a self-signed certificate. And so I'm going to be accepting the risk because I signed it. So this here is now the login into the Jupyter Notebook server. So that is the password that we just set. And with that, we are in our Jupyter Notebook server. We can see that there is nothing there because we haven't copied anything over. And so this is perfectly fine that there is nothing. Two times Control-C is terminating the Jupyter Notebook server. And what I'm suggesting how to actually use it, because the problem with this is using it like this is the moment the connection to the terminal is getting interrupted for whatever reason, your Jupyter Notebook server crashes. It's running into terminal. The moment the terminal is getting terminated for whatever reason, the Jupyter Notebook server is simply getting terminated. You don't get a warning, you don't get an option to save or anything like that. So this can be very annoying. So what I suggest instead is actually use the screen application, which actually fires up a logical terminal. So and the moment you're going into this and you're running it in screen, you actually can go out of the screen terminal and your Jupyter Notebook server keeps running. You can close your terminal connection, everything, but the screen connection, it's a virtual terminal, keeps running on the server as long as the server is turned on, and your Jupyter Notebook server keeps serving the Jupyter Notebooks. And on my Saravji's Hut GitHub pages, there are a couple links on how to use the screen virtual terminal application and what it exactly is. So please refer this. With this, I'm concluding the installation and configuration of the notebook server installation script that I put together. And have fun and keep using it. Thank you.